Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 26th lecture of grid and cloud computing. So we have started grid computing part from the last class. So last class we have seen the grid architecture and service modeling, in which we discussed about the importance of grid, features of the grid, how the data transfer happens from one site to another site. Okay, what is the network bandwidth between two different sites? And we discussed about various, you can say, various architectural model. If you want to build a data grid or a computational grid, for how the data grid is different from computational grid. And we discussed about various data replication policies, that is the data duplication or unified namespace. We also discussed about various security models that are used in our grid computing. Especially, we highlighted about OGSA security model, and we have also seen that how the migration happens. What is the role of GSH and GSR, that is known as grid service handle and grid service reference? How a unique name is provided over a life over an entire life of a particular service, or how these things can be changed from with respect to time, how the namespace will be changed. That also we have seen. So these things we discussed in the last class. So in today's class, we will especially focus on the grid projects and grid system build. So as the name suggests, there are numerous projects are there. Repeatedly, I am referring that these projects are specially made for the scientific and engineering applications like weather forecasting, right? So today in the lab class also we are going to install BOINC platform, right? I will give you the link in the chat box. So you install BOINC platform. So once you have explored the BOINC platform, you can uninstall it, right? Because it will consume, if you not install it, it will consume your computational power, your computer's resources it can use for their project. That I will tell you, so that this grid computing part you can see as a live demonstration. So apart from these, you can see a lot of grid projects are there. Generally, if you see, these grid projects are generally either funded by a government or funded by a industry. So it may be limited to the nation boundary, or it may be open to the international boundary, right? So based upon that, a lot of grid projects are there. In BONC platform also we'll see different categorizations, and in each and every categorization we will see what kind of projects is available in the BOINC platform. That also we are going to see in today's class. Then in the second part, we are going to see the grid system built. If you want to go for a design of a grid system, like many country, they have developed various grid projects for their country. So we are going to see which country is offering what type of grid, and if you want to build a grid, what you have to do. That part also we are going to see in today's class. So before going to this one, you know that grid computing is providing promising solutions to the user, right? If you want to process a very large amount of computational power you require, or large amount of processing you require, then grid is the one of the solutions, because it is not practically possible to purchase 1 million computer system to run a particular project. Like many people may have done their project in the various areas in the BTech. So sometimes you will see that whatever project you are doing, in which you are using the data sets. So in order to process the data set, your computer system alone cannot be sufficient. The resources available in your laptop or desktop or college computers, that is not sufficient. So you can move to the cloud, or you can connect one computer with another computer system, so that you can provide a promising solutions for your project, right? So whenever a user want to effectively share or you want to collaborate with one another in a distributed fashion, or you can say in which you can develop a particular environment that we call is a self-organizing, self-governing environment. In that case, you can use the grid computing, right? So if you do not require massive power or high computational power, so grid computing is not required. But when you require multiple computer system to share the resources, to collaborate in order to achieve a common objective, then you have to go for this grid project or grid computing. Like I told you, Government of India is launching so many packages and so many missions. So these missions can be fulfilled in cooperation with the state government, right? So if you see the entire country, there is a common objective that we have to promote this thing, or we have to aware people that these things are available, or we have to promote the digital mission, something like that. So in this case, what happened? All are collaborating each other to achieve a common objective. So in this case, also in order to promote these things, you can take help of the grid computing projects, right, or grid computing resources. So in order to promote this into various places, that is the advantages we are going to get in the case of grid computing. So generally, it is also referred as volunteer computing because the resources whatever we are using in grid, and these resources are not belongs to a single organization. It is belongs to the entire organization, in the organization that are available in the world. So that you can say it is not limited to a single organization, but it is open to multiple organizations. So you know that whenever we go for multiple organizations, each and every organization have different policies, different security mechanism, different privacy mechanism, different laws and regulations as well. But despite of these things, we are connecting various computer systems so that we can build a very large scale grid which can solve the problems of a particular nation or problems of a particular international problem, right? Or it can collaborate with one country with another country to solve a particular problem, right? In the form of a project, we are solving this particular problem, right? So generally, whether it is a national grid project or international grid project, it is generally funded by the public agencies, right? Especially government is very much interested for such projects because many issues are there, nationwide issues are there that can be solved by the help of these grid projects. So similarly, if you think you can think that suppose multiple organizations are participating in order to achieve a common objective. For example, you see in India, you know that total 30 NITs are there, right? So in 30 NITs, suppose there is a common objective that they will offer some course for the rural area people, or to reach each and every rural area people and solve their problems, right? If such a project will be launched by 30 NITs, so what happens? Each and every NIT need to collaborate with others, right? Sometimes we may lack resources, sometimes we have surplus of the resources, right? Sometimes we have many resources we are not using, or sometimes we have shortage of the resources. So what you can do, we can collaborate one with another so that uh, the common objective can be achieved. Similarly, if you are not restricted to a single national boundary, it is open to all. Like you assume that all educational institutes in whole over the world, all organizations that are present in all over the world, they have decided to collaborate each other to perform a particular work. So in that case, if you see, the time zone of each and every country is different. You know that Sri Lanka, even Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, China, they are very close to us, but their time zone is different. Our time zone is different. Suppose I am sending a mail at 8 a.m. Okay, So whenever it will reach to, let's say, in some other country like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, or you can say Bangladesh or China, so whenever it will reach, the time is not 8 a.m. there, right? Their time zone is also different. So there should be a mapping between two different countries will be there. So here 8 a.m. is, let's say, somewhere it is 9 a.m. So whenever I'm sending a mail at 8 a.m., it should be reflect there at 9 a.m. Right? So whenever you are integrating various computer systems, time zone plays also important role. So grid computing provides such facility so that what you can say that this time zone conversions, loss regulation conversion, security, privacy will be well maintained. So that is the basic requirement. If you fulfill, then only you can think about the grid computing system. If you have a lot of issues with respect to the nation boundary, or with respect to the time zone, with respect to the conversion, with respect to the mapping, then it is not possible to visualize the grid. So in particular, today we are going to discuss about three nation projects, and these nation projects are especially from the United States and European Union and China. We are going to detail about these three things. That is, you can see also in this table, we are representing five representative of the great computing system that are offered by various countries. Like you can see, TerraGrid is offered by United States of America, right? Which is sponsored by NSF and launched in 2002, which is active now, right? Similarly, DataGrid is offered in the European Union and sponsored by European Union, the European government, as well as UCRN, and it is launched in 2001. Yesterday class also I told you grid computing started in 1990 and it is becomes very popular after 2001 as Professor Ian Foster. So he has provided a complete picture of grid computing in one of the conference. From there, grid computing plays an important role, right? Similarly, you can see we already discussed about this grid 5000. We will again revisit this grid 5000 today, which is offered by our France, and it is sponsored by the France government and launched in the year of 2006. Similarly, China has a specific grid that is called a China grid, which is sponsored by the Ministry of Education China, which was launched in the year of 2005. Similarly, NAS grid that is also provided by USA, which is sponsored by NASA Ames Lab, which was launched in 2008. Like that, also each and every country is running some national grid projects in order to solve some important problems. Right? These problems is not only related to the scientific engineering application, also to share and exchanges messages as well, where the number of resources or number of resources or number of users, whatever we are thinking, that is in having a very bulk number, right? So whenever you require massive, big number of resources or big number of computational power, then only you have to move to grid or cloud to fulfill your demand. So you can see US, European Union, UK, and France and China all are launching the project, and especially these projects are funded by the government. Government is spending the money to launch these projects so that some real life problems can be solved by the help of this project. Or whenever I studied the class also, we have seen aircraft design, aircraft system, or you can say that is the drug development. Like in the corona situation, now people are finding searching for the vaccine, right? So such type of development where multiple your requirement of the computational resources is more. In that case, the government is sponsoring this one so that a solution, a possible solution, or you can say promising solution, can be found for that particular problem. In grid computing also, there is a grand challenge application. Like computer science, as a computer science student, you should know that there is a $1 million question. Okay, $1 million questions like you have studied in our computer algorithm, okay, or algorithm analysis and design. There is a P problem and there is a NP problem. Whether P is equal to NP, we do not know, right? Or we cannot say that P is equal to NP, or we cannot say P is not equal to NP. So this P is equal to NP problem, right? Especially P is equal to NP problem, whether it is true or not. So it is coming under a $1 million problem, right? So if you see the list in Google, you can search about $1 million problem. In the $1 million problem, you can see a list of problems. If you solve, then you will get $1 million, right? So these problems are very much challenging. So people are trying to find the solutions for P is equal to NP problem, right? So currently, if you see, there is a NP is a bigger set than the P, right? And P is a subset of NP, right? So whether they are equal or not, that is a very big problem, right? That is a $1 million problem. Similarly, in the grid computing, all the applications are called as a grand challenge applications. Whatever projects are launched in the grid computing, they are called as a grand challenge applications. So if you want to solve a grand challenge applications, so what is the solutions? You have to use high performance computing as well as your high bandwidth communication network. As you know, your computer systems, okay, whatever computer systems you have, these computers are not residing under a single organization or a single state or a single district or a single region. So as you are integrating with the resources of the various regions, bandwidth plays a very, very important role in order to solve a particular problem, right? So these are the national grid projects. You can see their description is there. Although we are going to discuss the description about three things. That is the Terra Grid, which is offered by your US, European Union, that is our data grid. We are also going to see the China grid. In the overall, we will see the France grid, that is grid 5000, right? So in the Terra Grid, you can see here is mentioned here also. TerraGrid, an open grid infrastructure in an 11 resource site. They have 11 resource sites, and these resource sites are not under a single organization. These 11 sites are not belong to a single city, right? They are present all over the world. So you see, if they are not present in a single place, how to integrate them? That plays an important role, right? And especially whenever you are communicating from one resource site to another resource site, so you have to take care of this high bandwidth communications. Without high bandwidth communications, it is not possible to move data from one resource site to another resource site, or collaborating with another resource site to achieve a particular goal. It is not possible, right? So we are going to discuss more about TerraGrid in the later slides. Now, similarly, we have a lot of international projects also, international grid projects. So international grid projects are maybe sponsored by government or industrial funding. So if a grid project is launched between two different countries, like many projects are offered by World Bank, that is based upon a particular region, like we are coming under Asia and Pacific region, right? So if a project is launched for Asia Pacific region, in which a lot of countries are coming, right? So many countries are coming, right? Like India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and grid. So what will happen? All will collaborate each other to fulfill that requirement, right? In that case, what happened? The government of each and every country will collaborate and they will sponsor the for that particular projects, right? So that is our international grid. So irrespective of whether it is a national grid or international grid, linking the computational resources or even if the supercomputers, right, that is plays an important role. So linking, while you are thinking about linking various computational resources, internet plays an important role. Or you can say high bandwidth wide area network or metropolitan area network or local area network plays a very important role to you want to connect one computer with another computer system. So out of these international grid projects, you can see a lot of international grid projects are written here. So in these, you can see that the very famous project which is used by European Union, that is called as EGEE, that is called as Enabling Grid for E-Science. So you can see they have taken E-Science, the first letter is E, second and the last letter is E. So they are calling the EGCE, right? That is Enabling Grids for E-Science. And also they have data grid, they have BE in grid. So with respect to a particular problem, various grid projects launched by European Union. It is not limited to a particular government. Many industry sectors are also collaborated in the international as well as in the national grid project. So you can see Java, the very popular language Java is launched by Sun Microsystem, right? So Sun Microsystem, IBM and HP, these peoples are also require this massive amount of computational power. So they are also collaborating with the international grids, or you can say they are also the grid providers, right? We have seen these are the grid providers, that is Sun Microsystem, IBM, HP. So international grids are built with a fixed term project. Like whenever these projects are launched, initially they are planned for 3 years or 5 years, something like that. Based upon the suitability, it may be extended to 10 years or the next 3 years or next 5 years, or a long-term goal can be set. But initially, it will be fixed for a particular term period, and the term may be extended based upon the use, right? But out of these projects, you can see some of them are no longer active, right? All the projects are not active. Once the project is done, maybe they are not active, or they are launching another project on using that resources, right? So all projects are not active to provide public services because run these resources, you require funding, right? Funding may not be a funding is a issue whenever a project is not running, or whenever a particular funding agency is not there. It is very difficult to fund for a particular project because the number of resources is more, or number of computers participating in the project is more. So you can see here the EGEE is the status column. You can see it is started from 2004 and ended in 2010, right? Similarly, D4 science, it is from 2008 to 2009. Nordic Grid, it is from 2006 to 2010. Future Grid, World Grid, SETI at Home, that is Source for Extraterrestrial Intelligence at Home, or BOINC, which we are going to see today. These are live today, right? From 2010, Future Grid is available. From 2004, World Grid is available. From 2001, SETI at Home project is active, and even in fact, if you see SETI at Home is a project which is running under this BOINC platform. Okay, so BNC platform provided by University of California, Berkeley. So supports a wide range of projects. It is started in from the 2002 and it is running till now. Similarly, BE in grid also started, also active, was active during the period 2006 to 2009. So there are a lot of versions are available with respect to this EGE project. Like you can see here, EGE project, EGE-I, EGE-double I, EGE-triple I. So there are 3 different versions are launched in between 2004 to 2010. So these are the list of international grid projects. International grid projects is not restricted to a nation boundary. It may be collaboration of various countries, or it may be related to a particular region, or it may be collaboration of various research institutes as well. Now you can see the France grid, which we already discussed earlier, if you remember this diagram. So here you can see, so it is having this grid 5000 is built over 9 French cities, right? So you can see in the France there is a 9 cities they have picked. In that 9 city, they have deployed the resources in order to solve the the problems associated with France, right? Or you can say this is a nation grid which is available in France, right? Which having 9 different you can say resource sites which is there in 9 different cities, right? So you can say this grid 5000 okay is a you can say it is a experimental grid test bed platform for providing your large scale computing, or you can say is a research instruments also, whether they drug development or aircraft design. In that case we can use the grade 5000. So the total number of processors available in whole over the region is 4792 processors cores are available, which is distributed over the 9 sites. So you can see these nodes are called as your sites. If you see these nodes are the called as sites, in each and every node the number of cores are written. If you add all the cores, you are going to get 4792 processor cores in 9 different sites, right? Similarly, here you can see the total 4792 cores are distributed over 9 regions, so that whenever there is a requirement, suppose one uh, particular work require 500 number of cores, so this particular site can be requested or provide that services in collaboration with other sites, right? So one resource site is asking help to another sites, and they are connected through a 10 Gbps link. So this connection is a 10 Gbps link, so that faster communication can be provided from one resource site to another resource site. So this grid 5000 uses PKI, that is public key infrastructure X.509 certificates are used to provide security in grid 5000. In fact, you can see the system uses the dedicated private network to construct a trustable backbone network, right? So these are the security features provided by Grid 5000. Similarly, Grid 5000, these sites are connected via a high bandwidth link, right? And this is a old data that shows that they are using 10 Gbps. Maybe today they are using more Gbps link. So here you can see each user has a universal account, right? If you want to participate, then you have a unique account. Today also you'll see for BYNC you have to create a unique account, and each site manages its local user account, and each and every individual site runs under a LDAP server, that is your lightweight directory access protocol. So from the user's point of view, those who are using these resources, you can say they are treating this one a globally enabled account is installed in the entire grid system, right? Suppose I am a user, I want to access this particular grid. So what happens? I have a single account to access the entire resources that are available in various sites. Similarly, come to TerraGrid, the NSF TerraGrid in the United States. As I mentioned, it is having 11 partner sites. Total sites is 11 partner sites, like you have seen in the China, Grid 5000, you have 9 different sites in France, right? So here it is 11 partner sites are there. So TerraGrid is a open scientific discovery infrastructure combining the leadership class resources at 11 partner sites. The purpose of integrating these 11 partner sites is to create an integrated persistent computational resources in the United States of America. So what are the sites names in TerraGrid? You can see Indiana University, okay. You can say Louisiana Optimal National Initiative. So they are, these 11 sites name is Indiana University, Louisiana Optical National Initiative, National Center for Supercomputing Application, National Institute of Computational Science, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, Purdue University, San Diego Supercomputing Center, Texas Advanced Computing Center, University of Chicago, Arizona National Laboratory, National Center of Atmospheric Research. So these universities, or you can say these research centers, are collaborating each other to solve the problems associated with a national grid in the United States. So if you see, if there is a resource shortage in the one side can participate, collaborate with another side to provide the resources. So TeraGrid resource include more than 2 petaflops of computing capacity. Imagine we are going for floating point instruction per second, but they are giving petaflops of computing capability and 50 petabytes of online and archival data storage. You can store this data up to 50 PB, right? We are talking about PB in today's scenario. PB is there, yottabyte is there, zettabyte is there. So the day by day, this values is increasing, right? And one of the important thing that researcher can also access more than 100 discipline specific databases in TeraGrid. That is the advantages you are going to get if you are going to use the TeraGrid. Okay, so TeraGrid is means maintained by University of Chicago, right? Similarly, TeraGrid construction was also made possible through key corporate partnership. They are also collaborating with various industry partnerships like Sun Microsystem is there, IBM is there, Intel is there, West Communication is there, Juniper is there, Miricom is there, HP is there, right, and Oracle Corporation. So they are also participating along with the 11 different sites offered by different supercomputing labs, supercomputing centers or labs or the educational institutes, so that they can solve some problems associated with grid computing. So TeraGrid is a high performance computing and communication system using the Globus software or middleware tools. So I told you repeatedly, Globus is a very famous middleware. This Globus software and middleware is used in each and every site, right, to develop grids linking multi-teraflops computers together, right? So this is acting like a middleware which binds the computational resources into a single unit, right? So computational resources run a set of software packages which we call as a coordinated TeraGrid software services, CTSS, and CTSS is going to provide a familiar user environment on all TeraGrid system, right? And you can see it also allows the scientists to port code from one system to another system, right? As you have multiple systems, you can port one code with another system. It also provides you the single sign-on facility. Once you sign on with the system, you do not require multiple times to authenticate, right? You can submit your job remotely, right? You can give your job to the system so that system can execute and return the result to you. TeraGrid also supports your workflow support, data movement tools. So these are the various services provided by our TeraGrid. CTSS, if you see also, the CTSS also includes your Globus toolkit or the funder, which is used for the job submission and scheduling kind of thing is done by the funder. It also supports the distributed accounting management software, verification, validation of the software, or a set of compilers, programming tools, and environment variables. These are supported by coordinated TeraGrid software services. So here you can see the complete picture. Now the data will be very clear. You can see Caltech is a particular resource site. ANL, what we discussed here, ANL is your that is Arizona National Laboratory. Similarly, you can see NCSA. NCSA is nothing but your National Center for Supercomputing Application. So like that, various websites, various resource sites are there. Each and every resource sites are having different configuration. For example, you can say here it is 0.4 TF Intel IA64 cluster is there, but here it is 1.25 TF is there. Here 4 TF is there, here 6.3 TF is there, here 10 TF is there. So with respect to different sites, the number of computational powers is different. But what we have done here, we have connected various computational resources in order to execute the works that are submitted to a grid computing, or in order to provide the flexibility to the user so that they can run any scientific and engineering applications, or in order to help the governments to run a very big projects in these resource sites. So you can say each and every site is having a switch. It is connecting to another one using another switch, right? In between, you can say there is a loss and engines hub is there. In between the ANL to PSC, you have a Chicago hub is there, and these two hubs are connected with a 40 GB per second backplan network, right? Imagine 40 GB you can transfer per second. That much faster is there. So here it is a typical example that where we are using 5 TeraGrid resource sites, and especially the LA hub and Chicago hub is connected using a 40 gigabytes per second extensible backplan network. So in this way, you can build a grid computing system. Next is come to the data grid in the European Union. European Union has a European data grid project, which we call as the EDG, was funded by European Union. And the main aim of this project is that it is able to build a next generation high throughput product quality grid infrastructure in order to support your IO intensive experiments in high energy physics or earth observation or bioinformatics. So these are the projects are supported by these EDG. So the system moves and replication data at a high speed from one geographical site to another. So in order to maintain the replica of the data, you have to move your data from one site to another site, because at any point of time, one site will fail due to hardware failure, software failure, or due to some environmental effect as well. And as you are storing this thing into multiple sites, it also provides the consistency, checking and synchronization of multiple copies in a global scale. So the copy of the data, whatever available in various geographical sites, so it is providing a feature that each and every sites should have the same data. The same data should be available in all the sites so that a consistency can be maintained in each and every sites. So that at any point of time, if you want to access a particular data, you will get the details without having a old copy, right? So I'll show the EDG architecture here, which is released by CRN. You can see here EDG architecture. In the very top level, you have CRN computer center is there. So it is a hierarchical architecture. You can say here tier 0 is there, here tier 1 is there, tier 2 is there, tier 3 is there. In the bottom most you have workstations are there. Just like a tree, it is maintaining various hierarchy or various levels. Each and every levels is meant for a particular belongs to a particular region, or you can say it is having a different computation power, right? And you can see here the speed is 2.4 gigabits per second. In the next level, it is 0.6 to 2.4 gigabits per second. Like that, you can see here it is 100 M to 100 MB per second. So the connection between the two tiers are also different, right? So let us see. So you can see in this case, in the data grid case, okay, the data on the order of the several petabytes. Here the data is not in the form of gigabyte or kilobyte or megabyte. They are on the order of the petabyte, and they are distributed in a hierarchical fashion to multiple sites worldwide. For example, you have seen that tier 0 is the CRN computer center, that is European Organization for your nuclear research, that is placed in the Geneva, right? And this tier stores almost all the relevant data, because it is in the higher layer, on the, you can say, root level, so it is having all the data. And several tier 1 regional centers are there, like Italy is there, UK is there, France is there, and Fermilab is there, right? Different countries, they are connected to the CRN computer center in order to collaborate the things, right? But the main problem with EDG, you can see here, EDG does not guarantee the quality of service requirement. because it is depending on the various region centers, so it is not supporting your EDG, it is not supporting your quality of service. So each tier 1 center, you can see here France or UK or Italy or Fermilab. So they are further linked to a large number of tier 2 centers. You can see tier 2 centers. So there are a couple of tier 2 centers are under the Fermilab. Similarly, a couple of data centers are there under the France, UK, and Italy region, which further links to the tier 3. Tier 3, you have a lot of institutes are there, right? So they are aiding in a hierarchical fashion where actually the physical data catch is there, right? And finally, the bottom one is your workstation. That is nothing but your complete hardware. Okay, so this is the main purpose of EDG, and also finding a resource in the EDG is very much important because the system is completely decentralized. So it uses the query-based things in order to locate a particular resources or in order to allocate a resources for a particular applications. Here also they are using a scheduler which uses a hierarchical organization with an extensive scheduling policies in order to monitor these things. And in order to distribute the data in the EDG, the core middleware is used in the Globus toolkit with hooks for the data grid, right? So this Globus toolkit provides the middleware support that is used by in the EDG project. EDG also uses your virtual private network between the servers and the storage of resources so that it can provide a virtual infrastructure, right? And EDG also, you can say, wide area testbed interface with the existing mass storage management system based on the core Globus middleware system, right? It also monitors the end user and administrator to check the status error information in the EDG environment, whether a particular node is working or a particular node is in idle state or a particular node is in the sleep state. Everything is managed by the help of this grid monitoring, right? You can monitor and you can report the status to the administrator so that they can also, if there is some error happens in particular site, that is also reported to the administrator. So there is two important things in the EDG project. One is your data assessor, another is your data locator. They are used to map the location independent identifier to the location dependent identifier. So there are two identifiers here. One is your dependent, another is independent. In order to map a particular location independent identifier with location dependent identifier, we are using two things. One is data assessor, another is data locator. So what this is data assessor is going to do? Data assessor is providing you an interface, okay, which encapsulates the details of the local file system and mass storage system, right? So such as like you can see example of this data assessor is your Kester or HPSS. These are the things, and several implementation of these generic interfaces exist. While if you compare with the data locator makes use of this generic metadata manager, right? Which is responsible for efficient publishing and management of a distributed and hierarchical set of objects. So here we are especially in order to assess the things, we are using the query optimization. Ensure that whenever you are initiating a particular query, whenever you are giving a particular query, an optimal migration and replication plan is introduced. Okay, so that you can optimize the resources use and migration from one site to another site can be minimized by the help of this data locator. So it also provides you the appropriate security mechanisms to cover the access and independent of the organization boundaries, right? So it is not limited to a particular organization boundary. It may be open to outside the boundary also, so that you can have more resources. But security mechanism is enforced to all the resources. So let us take a poll, then we'll continue. The question is that TerraGrid is a national grid project of which country? You have last 15 seconds. Okay, what is the correct answer? TeraGrid
USA, sir.
it is a project of the United States of America. Okay. So the last part of today's discussion is the China Grid, right? So China Grid is aims to build the largest education and research platform over 100 universities across China. Okay. So out of all the universities available in the is providing education and research in China. So 100 universities are collaborated each other to provide a new grid that is called as a China Grid, right? And this grid system especially used for three things. One is for research, another is for the science project, or it is for the education projects, which is provided. China Grid is providing that by aggregating the resources throughout the China Education Research Network, which we call as CERNet. Okay, and from 2002, it was launched by Ministry of Education China, which binds 100 university into a single platform, right? And this grid services attempts to provide collaborative research, scientific and education grids. And China Grid also integrates heterogeneous, massive resources distributed based on the grid technology. So it is also a very wide project in China, although it is limited to the nation boundary, but it is a very big project. So if you see the connectivity of China Grid, so you can see the first page of China Grid has started from 2003 to 2006, right, which is focused on various platforms and applications. These applications are ranging from the life science application to the computational physics applications. Any kind of applications you can run using this China Grid, right? And many top universities of China, if you know some universities like Tsinghua University or University of Science and Technology, Peking University, Bihang University, South China University, Shanghai Jiao University, Southeast University, okay, and National University of Defense Technology, they are participated in the China Grid. Like I told you, 11 resource site in the case of resource in the case of TeraGrid. Similarly, here also a lot of top universities of China, they are participating and providing resources. So a high bandwidth of 2.5 Gbps, you can see for the backbone, and rich scientific education resource provides the fabric environment for constructing China, right? So this is a high bandwidth is provided as a backbone to support the China Grid. So at the core of China Grid is its grid middleware. Like I told you, Globus is a middleware. So here the middleware is nothing but your China Grid supporting platform, CGSP, and it integrates, this middleware integrates all kind of resources in education and research environment, which also makes heterogeneous and dynamic nature of the resources transparent to the user and provides the following things like high performance, highly reliable, secure environment, convenient environment, and transport grid services for any kind of scientific computing in engineering research. Next is, if you see the application of the China Grid in various places, you can see there is a lot of applications. So there are 5 application specific grids are deployed. One is one application is your bioinformatics, another is your computational grid dynamic, another is machine information processing, another is your distance education grid. So these applications are offering many applications. If you see in the distance education grid, if you see especially this one, like we have NPTEL, and we are also using, people are also using the Coursera, right? So this distance education grid is offering higher education courses online. Okay, many higher education courses are supported by distance education grid. So okay, distance education grid, many online courses are provided, so many peoples can also opt this online courses and gain knowledge. Like nowadays, online courses are going on. So such online courses like NPTEL and our Coursera is also provided by this grid, that is distance education grid. Similarly, they have also another grid that is called as your image processing grid. And if you see the power of China grid, although it is a quite a old data, but you see old data is also having a very huge amount, that China grid's total computing power had reached 170 teraflops and its total storage capacity has reached 170 terabytes. Okay. And China grid projects supports a lot of applications, including weather forecasting, or you can say petroleum reservoir simulation, high energy physics, numerical wind tunnel simulation, ship structure analysis, and traffic control and guidance. These cases, the China grids controls like traffic control and guidance is a very important part, right? So this is a nation, in the government is maintaining the traffic lights and how traffic can be controlled. There should not be heavy traffic in a particular place. So such type of applications, they are utilizing the resource that are available in the China grid to provide promising solutions for these applications.